Okay, these are some more from section 5.1, some more identities. And we start with the tangent of t plus the cotangent of t over 1 plus the sine of t. I want to show that that's equal to secant of t. So kind of follow one of our first techniques is to get everything in terms of sine and cosine. So the tangent is the same thing as the sine of t over the cosine of t. Sorry about that, cosine of t. Plus the cosine of t all over 1 plus the sine of t. And again, we've got one term on the right and two on the left, so let's try to get one. So let's make this in one fraction. And what's my least common denominator? It's going to be the 1 plus the sine of t times the cosine of t. So I multiply both the top and the bottom here by 1 plus sine of t. Yeah. Let me rewrite this because that's kind of messy here. So we'll write this as sine of t all over the cosine of t plus, give myself a little room here, cosine of t all over 1 plus the sine of t equals, and what we'll do is now we'll be able to have a little room here, multiply this by 1 plus the sine of t and then I'll multiply this by the cosine of t, put parentheses, cosine of t. Okay, and then let's put this all over common denominator. This will be my common denominator. Cosine of t times 1 plus the sine of t. And on the top, I can multiply this out. So I've got the sine of t. And I've got plus, and the sine times the sine is the sine squared of t. And over here I've got the cosine times the cosine plus the cosine squared of t. Does that equal the secant of t? All right. But what is the sine squared plus the cosine squared? Isn't that just 1? So now I can write this as the sine of t plus 1 all over the cosine of t times 1 plus the sine of t. Okay? Does that equal secant? Now what do these do? These cancel, don't they? I can cancel this. I can think of this as times 1. So I can cancel those. 1 plus the sine of t. So now I have 1 over the cosine of t, and that does indeed equal the secant of t. So that's checked. There we go. Okay. That was a nice one. So on the longer side. And then number 29. Here's 29. Try to watch these, go over them, make sure, I know it's not a lot of time, but you can go back and review them. So this is a very valuable technique. It's verifying these things. It's kind of standard trigonometry. Okay, number 29. This was 1 minus the sine squared. 1 minus, sine squared of x over 1 plus the cosine of x. And I want to show that that's equal to the cosine of x. Okay. So again, we see we've got two terms here. One term here, so I'm going to try to get one term on both sides, so I'll try to get this to be one fraction. So this would be 1 plus the cosine of x all over 1 plus the cosine of x. Is that equal to 1? Yeah. The top and the bottom are the same, so this is equal to 1. Okay. And then I have negative sine squared of x all over 1 plus the cosine of x. Alrighty, now. Okay, we'll make this into one fraction. So I've got 1 plus the cosine of x minus the sine squared of x all over 1 plus the cosine of x. Okay. Now what can I do? Okay, remember the sine squared. What is the sine squared equal to? Remember we talked about our Pythagorean identity. The sine squared plus the cosine squared equals 1. So the sine squared equals 1 minus the cosine squared. So I'm going to substitute that in. So I'll say 1 plus the cosine of x, right, minus, and that's going to be 1 minus, the cosine, I should say cosine. Okay, so remember the sine squared equals 1 minus the cosine squared. Okay, we can add that and get sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. This is all over my good old denominator here, 1 plus the cosine of x. Still don't know what the heck that is, but let's remove the parentheses and see what we have. So we got 1 plus the cosine of x, and this is negative 1, and negative times negative is a positive, cosine of x, all over 1 plus the cosine of x. Okay. Now what do these ones do? These ones cancel, don't they? Oops, forgot the square. Pardon me, square. And these ones cancel. 1 minus 1 is 0. So now I've got the cosine of x plus the cosine squared of x all over 1 plus the cosine of x. And can I factor out the cosine? Sure, if I factor out the cosine of x, what's left? 1 plus the cosine of x all over 1 plus the cosine of x. Looks like a perfect match to me. So these, over that is 1. So I've got the cosine of x. Cosine of x equals the cosine of x, and you're done. We'll check off there. So there we go. So kind of a lot of algebra in the last couple, okay? That's a long one. Hope you see how that works. There's other ways to do this. This just kind of worked for me, okay? Hope that helps.